made, and wanted to share some of that kind of full development process with you all today. So at least the game plan on my side is one I found like really interesting or intriguing, is the ground station application. So if you're not familiar with drones as much, the idea is you can plan a route out on a map and then have the drone autonomously complete that route. So we're going to work through that tutorial today kind of from start to finish. So whether it's a specific tutorial, or I'm sorry, a specific app of interest, they all have the same, I guess, starting point when you're creating an app, registering it, getting an API key, and putting everything together. So the beginning stage will be kind of the same for everything that you could use, and then specifically this one's kind of cool because you get to see the simulator run, connect a drone to that, and work through all those steps as well. So hopefully that's of use. If anyone had anything specific they were looking to get out of today, certainly feel free to throw that in the chat or let me know, and I can try to cover that a little bit more in depth, more than other things. So yeah, I guess before I continue here, was anything specific you all wanted to cover today, or kind of like a beginning to end workflow on a project sound good with everyone?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds good here as well.
Awesome. Okay, I am rejoining here for the third time. I think I've finally got it. Join now. Share my screen. Your entire screen. Yes. Okay. So I think you're now seeing my screen, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we can see it. That's great news.
Alrighty, beautiful. There we go. Cool. So kind of where everything starts here on the iOS development side is in the Xcode application. If you're not familiar with iOS development, this runs on a Mac. You can download it just in the native Mac App Store. But that's pretty much really the only requirements to get going. There's simulators you can run on it, but obviously nice to have an iOS device as well. If you're brand new to iOS development, some of the tutorials I might recommend that helped me out were the Hacking with Swift from Paul Hudson, or Angela Yu has a course on Udemy as well that was quite useful. Those are kind of the two courses I learned from when starting off on the iOS development side. So here we'll go ahead and create a new app, and we'll call it Tutorial Ground Station Demo. We're using Swift as our language, and go ahead, hit Next, and create that in my Dji SDK project folder. I need to exit a few tabs as well to speed the old computer up. And that'll be created here. Go ahead and exit simulators for now, just to speed things up on my end. The sharing might slow it down a bit too. Okay, so we have tutorial ground station demo here, and just to start off here, we're going to be doing this for iPad only. We'll go iOS 13 as our deployment, and actually that's all we're going to do here within this file. We'll go ahead and save that, exit, and then I'm going to open up Terminal, and then I'm going to go ahead and navigate to this project location and create a pod file. So the reason I'll be creating a pod file is we're using something called CocoaPods to grab the DJI SDK for implementation on our side, and CocoaPods is really the easiest way to do that. If you've ever run CocoaPods before, there's some good tutorials out there, or you can just go on the CocoaPods website. I think it's really just like gem install CocoaPods really to get going, if I'm not mistaken. But let me open up my Finder to save myself some typing time here. Find the location, and we'll navigate to this. Fun fact, you can just drag and drop a folder if you want a CD to it. So now I'm in the folder location, and I'm going to create a pod file. We'll open the pod file up, and now I have that right here. And essentially what I need to do is tell it what version I'm developing for and what pods I need. So just to save us a little time here, we'll do the old copy and paste, and then our project is called Tutorial Ground Station Demo. So you can see iOS 13, there's my source, and we're doing Dji SDK, widget, FileSafe database. I guess we're not really going to use the widgets or the FileSafe database today, but perhaps if you were using a different project, you might want to. And as Godfrey noted, we're currently on 4.16 is really the important one here. So I'll go ahead and save this, exit it. There's a bit of, I guess, cheating, you could say, to do it directly in the text field editor instead of on the terminal here, but I like it because it saves me some time. So after that, we can just do pod install. Good to exit this. And that's what we like to see, installing all three. Yells at me for doing it in text edit, but it still works, so I'm okay with it. And now, when we're looking at our folder here, you can see we have the XC workspace here. And after you install your pod files, that's what you're going to open up from now on. That includes the pod files. The original Xcode project does not. So go ahead and open that up here and bring it over to our main screen. So now you can see on the left side we have our pods, including Dji SDK iOS. So next up, now that we've gotten our pod files in, is actually going to be opening up or getting an app key. So we can go to developer.dji.com. Let's see, go to Developer Center. I happen to already be logged in. Oh, I do not. You'll log into a DJI account, free to create if you don't have one. And then on here you'll see all your applications. So what we're going to do is create an app, and mess this up the other day, you got to make sure you select iOS. Our app name is Tutorial GS Demo. The bundle identifier, we can get that from our project here in signing in capabilities. Just copy and paste that. Category, you can really pick whatever you want. They have some interesting wording there. We have some interesting wording, work on the DJI side. And then description, we'll just say tutorial GS demo. Doesn't really matter what you put. We'll say create, and then it's going to send a email. So I will hide my screen momentarily for this, but you'll get a email that says, hey, can you verify your email? And we'd like to give you an app key. And then within your file, you can create a constants file if you want to hide it when you're uploading it to GitHub. That makes life easier. Or you can just add it directly to your info key list here. But let me activate that, and I'll actually add this app key as kind of a last thing in temporary. Hide my screen, just best practice not to share the app key with others. However, some other iOS target properties we do need to change right out of the gate or add here. First one being, we'll go on the bottom here and add. App transport security settings. And then we're going to need to allow. I need to get that directly in app transport settings. I'll circle back on that one here, but let's take care of supported external accessory protocols, and then we also need to do, we're just taking care of these a little bit earlier than later, but if you're developing for iOS, you essentially need to ask for location from the user, and here and then the plist, you just kind of add the message you'd like from the user in that regard. So come on now. Sorry, don't know why it's not letting me click there. Oh, it's going too slow. Should be able to add a string directly in there. Once again, we'll circle back on that one. And you got to do 2 of them with the new privacy items from Apple. So you ask for always and when in use, and then when in use, and you have to give a usage description for both of those. So someone might not want to do it always. They might just want to do it when the app is in use. And then finally, with some DJI drones, you can connect via a Bluetooth. Those are quite older at this point, but just trying to cover like general application, what you'd want to add. Privacy. We'll go Bluetooth, always usage description. Okay. Let's see if we can edit these strings now. Let me try this. I guess I have 2 mouses connected right now. Strange. So I've never run into this problem before. It's a string. Should just be able to click on that, but letting me. Might have to build my project first, so we'll do that here really quick in the near term. Okay, here item 0, we're going to add 3 more of these. Okay, that might have been my issue not building it beforehand. But we have 0, 1, 2, and 3. And this one is going to be com. Maybe just a little too. That's my issue. I got my side window open here and wasn't able to get to it. So we'll close that out. Sorry for the slow load time here. Looks like running the sharing plus the Xcode is pulling a lot from the old computer here. I'll close out a few more items to hopefully speed it up. Okay, here we go. So yeah, silly me was just hiding the value there, so wasn't quite getting it when I clicked on it. But item 1 is going to be com.dji.video. Item 2 is going to be com.dji.protocol. item 3 is going to be com.dji.common, and then 3 dji logic link
I think you've
3
got
slash 4.
I think you've got a typo. Is it COMMON?
Yes, sir. Thank you for catching that. Saving us early on here. Cool. And then we need an app transport security setting of allows arbitrary loads, and that is going to be yes. Okay. So we have allow arbitrary loads, video protocol, common, logic link, and then we can add some descriptions here. We'll just say we need a location for today. So gets us going there. And then the final item that I found that needs to be done is in build settings. We're going to search for header search paths. And on this side, you're going to delete everything except headers public. So that'd be the first 3. And same one for here. We'll delete 1, 2, 3. Alrighty. So that's kind of the 101 to setting up an Xcode project for developing for iOS SDK from my experience. So now we get on to actually building the application here. We'll go ahead and delete the view controller and start with a fresh view controller here. So Cocoa Touch class, UI view controller, and we'll name this root view controller. Here in our storyboard side of things, you can kind of think about this as your visual side of things versus your code side of things on the Swift files. This is your storyboard. We're going to change this over to an iPad, and then we're going to rotate it so we have a horizontal landscape direction. So just easier, more screen to work with here when we're on a map and mission planning here. On our main here, we now need to tie our storyboard to root view controller, and then also verify it is set as initial view controller. So this will open when we first open the application up. On my side today, I'm going to be doing a bit more of the storyboard UI instead of programmatic. So if you prefer one or the other, you can certainly do it either way. I find this just to be a bit more user-friendly, per se, to do it on the storyboard. I've been working on learning it both ways. But first thing we need, obviously, is a map. So we'll draw our map kit view on here. We're going to add constraints all around. We'll take the edges of our view for now. And then we're going to set our map view delegate. So if we right-click on it here, you can see currently no delegates on that side. So for our referencing outlet, we're going to drag that to the root view controller to establish that outlet. And then in the code itself, we can open this assistant panel. Gives you a little side panel here. You can tap Control on your keyboard, drag it over, and we'll establish an outlet. So technically tying our visual storyboard here to our code on the right side, and we'll call this map view. And as I'm going here, just an FYI, I am following one of the RIIS, I believe is how you say it, Godfrey, correct me if I'm wrong, tutorials. A little bit of my own spin on it, but that one, I don't believe it's been published on their blog yet, but like you said, that code's all on his GitHub as well, so a big thank you to them kind of providing the backbone for this example here today. On our side, we're going to need to import MapKit because you can see we're having the error here. And while we're at it, we'll import core location and the Dji SDK as well. And then here, we're going to say mk map view delegate, as we've just tied that on our storyboard. So let's go ahead and build our project now. Location. And we'll replace that build. All right. Apologize for the build time. Looks like it'll be a little bit slower today. Got to get one of those nice M1s from Apple one of these days, I guess. But now we have our map view. That's all tied in, connected. So let's go ahead and run this on simulator. Let's do iPad Pro 2 once it's done building. And you'll see that we now have a map on the iPad. And as that's building and getting the simulator started, I'm going to kind of continue on the code side in the near term so we don't have to wait around as long. So first thing we're going to do is add the ability on our map to add points. And why this is important is, with the drone, we want to fly to certain locations on the map, latitude, longitude, and height. So X, Y, Z you can think of it as. But we need to be able to tap on the map to make those points. Granted, you could do it just typing out numbers, but your life is much easier when you do that on a map. So first things first here, we'll go ahead and clear this out here. I don't need this right now. Create an array of points, and in Swift that's going to be CL location, and then we'll add a couple functions here to both initialize and then sort property add points about initial value, parentheses the size, initialize it. We need to add a space there and fix that there. There at points, CL location. Sorry, my simulator is getting booted up here at the same time. So there's a second there, but that is loading up our map view in the near term. Alright, sorry, let this pop up here really quick, and then we'll continue on with the tutorial. Fortunately, it looks like I've got to do that before I can continue on. All right. So, sorry. Just exit out the simulator for now. We'll keep building and add that here. Also, this root view controller should be in here, so we'll move that over. Part of our issue as well. Okay, so making a new Swift file here, and this is going to be our map controller. There we go. And we'll just import UIKit because that actually includes Foundation as well. So if you have UIKit, you don't need the other. New object here being the map controller, and then we're actually going to put our edit points array here within this function. And it was yelling at me before because I wasn't initializing it, and I'm like, I don't remember having an init function in there. It's because I created a new Swift file here as well, the map location. So we'll say edit points equals an array of CL location, and we're initializing this right now as an empty array. Like so. By the way, our map has loaded here as well, so you can see the ability to move it around. I rotated a couple times. There we go. So this is our current app stance. We have a map, big time right there. So here's where I need to import map kit, and then hopefully we'll find CL location for us. Good to see those errors disappearing. Temporarily. Gonna find type CL location in scope. We have map kit, we have UI kit, we have, okay. All right, went away now. All right, so function, we're going to add an input. We're going to have the point, and then we also need our map view that we're going to add the point to. So mk map view, and we're going to need a coordinate, we're going to need a location, and then we're going to append that location to the map/array itself. Coordinate is going to equal our location coordinate, and then map view, add annotation. So essentially here we have our coordinate, we have our location, and we're appending that to the map as an annotation. So location, latitude, and longitude. There we go. So we have our coordinate. From that coordinate we can pull a latitude and a longitude, and then our edit points array, we're going to append that location to it. We're creating an annotation, just a basic mk point annotation, and we're saying the annotation's coordinate is going to be the location coordinate, and then add that annotation to the map view itself. One other thing we need to do is clean out the points. believe I'm getting a little long here, so I'm going to copy and paste a few functions from earlier builds on my side, save you guys some type time. But with the function here, essentially cleaning out all the points, edit points, remove all, nothing really too specific to Dji SDK here, just kind of a basic map function there. So overall, we have the option to add, and we have the option to clean out the waypoints. So now with these two functions, we want to tie them to buttons on the map itself. So we're going to go ahead and add an add button, and we're going to add a button to kind of clear out those as well. So going back to main here, view controller, view, we have our view right here, add a button, going to name it edit, and we'll give it a background just so we can see it on the map. Background, we'll just make it green for easily viewable, and then we'll tie it to the top and left here. So we end up deleting this and creating a whole button version later on, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that here, but you can see we have the edit button there. We'll then open up our assistant, go ahead and connect it up here. Now we're going to create an action, UI button, edit button action, and then we want to do something with the map controller that we just created. So in here we need to create a map controller. And then we have our edit button action, and we'll just say if we are editing points, we want to go ahead and clean them out. And if we're not editing points, we'll go ahead and add a point in that location. So you can see it kind of just toggles back and forth between, in this case. So it should be much faster to run in this side. We'll also need to add the variable itself. There is editing points, and that's actually just going to equal false out of the gate. There is editing. Alright, stored property. We're in our class here. What are we messing up here? There is editing points equals false. That's inside of our root view controller. Cannot override with the stored property. Sorry, looking back on my notes here, see what we are messing up here. Root view controller. We're inside of our class, creating our variable. Is editing. Let's come points here. And we need to grab an outlet of our edit button as well. So back here, connect this up, and we'll call it an edit button. There we go. Go ahead and run that now. So is editing is just a general term there. I forgot to add the points on my side. So pop the simulator open here and take a look. So you can see our poorly put together edit button here, but we can click that. And then tap on the map. That should allow us to add points. However, I think we are missing something right now because that is dot add annotation. Delegate, review controller. Got both of those tied in here. Delegate, referencing this should be. There we go. I think that was our issue there. That should just be tied in there. All right. Alright, my apologies, still have something messed up on my end. Delegate tied in here to the root view controller. We have our map view tied in to the root view controller, so that all looks okay there. By the way, if you guys are noticing anything too while you're watching that I'm missing on my end, do feel free to holler. Root view controller, we have edit points, map controller, calling that function there, adding points equals true, and then if we go over to our map controller, we have points, we have a function here to add them, clean all points. I apologize as well, we're not even into the, I guess, Dji SDK portion of this, just trying to get it set up a little further on, so you can always hop ahead with some previous builds on my side to get you guys some more SDK time rather than iOS development time, so that might be the best bet here. Our map controller. So just circling back on what I have completed real quick.
I can't see anything obvious.
Yeah, not got our edit points, editing points, initializing that. We have those two functions there, and then back on our root viewer controller side, we're opening up our map controller, our edit button. We have our map view. I suppose I could try just hard coding it here. Map view dot delegate equals self. I thought I tied that on the UI without an issue, but we'll give it one more go here. Edit.
No.
Nope, not. All right, let's just delete both of these outlets from the map view real quick. Try looking it up one more time. So I know essentially need two here. We need an outlet to this, and then we need the referencing outlet delegate, our root view controller, our referencing outlet over to here. That's map view. That's there. Oh, you know what it is, Godfrey, where I got so ahead of myself.
What you doing?
I didn't even add a tap gesture on this, so
Oh, okay.
I'm over here tapping the map, and I haven't even added code to do that. So, my apologies, folks. We're here in the root view controller. We have our map view, or map controller, I should say, and we need to initialize the tap gesture. So when I'm clicking on the screen itself, we're actually having something happen there. So we'll just add this right below the map controller when I am initializing my data. So we'll go did load, init data, and then in our init data function, for one, I need to initialize the map controller. And then let's save some time here and initialize our tap gesture. And that needs to be a capital M. So now when we tap, we're going to call the add waypoints function, which we will now add here as well. So sorry, copy and paste here to catch us a little up in time from the previous build project. But more or less, when we tap on the screen, we're calling the add waypoints tap gesture. That then, based on our tap, when it ends, it's going to, if we're in the editing points mode, add a point using the map controller. And then on the map view itself, we add a map view delegate here. So essentially, if the annotation is an MK point annotation, it's going to add a purple pin onto the map itself. Hey, there we go. So now we've had the idea here where we can add different locations on our map that we'd want the drone to fly for. But obviously, as you just saw the great state of Iowa there, we're not wanting the drone, or doesn't necessarily have the battery capacity to add or to fly all the way across Iowa. So it's going to be useful to zoom the map in on our location. So we've already imported core location up here. Let's go ahead and now create a location manager to store the user's location. Whoop. So we'll say our user location is going to be a CL location coordinate, and then we're going to add one more button on here just for the time being. We'll just copy and paste. Once again, like I said, we're improving these later on, so I'm not as concerned about their location here in the, or look in the near term. So we'll tie that to the edit button and the side. Maybe I didn't add coordinates to this one in the first place. There we go. Okay. So to our assistant here, we'll create our focus button. Outlet, I actually just need an action, to be honest. So we'll get that in a better place here. Drop that down by maybe the bottom. So our focus button, I'll call it focus map function. And then we'll add that focus map function in here. More or less, just getting our user location from the user. We added that in the info POS before to ask for their permissions. And then checking if the coordinate is valid, we'll center our map on their location with a specific map span in that regard. So now on that side, we can focus map. Before we get to that, in our init data function, we want to make sure your location, we need to initialize that. CL location, coordinate 2D, and then we need to tell it when we're going to start updating the location itself. So now in our function, we'll need to add view will appear. Good grief. Guess it wants me to type out override func. Still not getting autocomplete. Yes, perhaps we'll just type it out ourselves here. View will appear and animated, and then start update location. And then, sorry folks, I'm realizing here we're spending a lot more time on kind of some basic iOS functions rather than the SDK. So let me pull up this version here. I'm just kind of more or less updating the base functions we're going for, so you don't necessarily have to watch me type all those out. If you guys are hearing more on the basic iOS side and would want to kind of see me continue that side, feel free to speak up and let me know or add something in the chat. If it's more advantageous to jump ahead on the Dji SDK side, I'm thinking that's probably best now, realizing how long it's taking me to put the UI together for you all. Well, I guess not hearing a ton of feedback, so I'll take a minute here and update the code here so we can jump ahead a bit and then explain the actions that have been done. So wouldn't mind just giving me a minute. I'll update us on the code side with the previous version I put together.
So it probably makes sense, because I don't think we explained at the start, to explain what this app is doing. So this is the Waypoints app. So the idea here is that you have a map with waypoints, which can be any shape that you want, and then you tell the drone to fly to each of those waypoints. So this is essentially just a mission planner app. Would you agree, Grant?
Yes, sir. And I'm sorry, I don't think I could have done a better job of explaining that
No, it's okay.
myself, but that's
It's one
exactly
of
it.
it is one of the tutorials. So each of the tutorials have kind of functionality that you're going to use if you're going to create an app. So like camera, media manager, waypoints for creating a mission, and then as part of this, the drone will fly to each of the different waypoints.
Yes, sir. Da, 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 da. Yeah, sorry, it's taking me a second to put the few more UI points here.
And then typically in the back end, we can only see your simulator, by the way, at the moment. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I guess I'm happy to show my screen as well. Let me put that.
But if you're going to use this in a real app, you're going to need a back end, which would basically take the images that you capture at the waypoint, and then that would stitch the images together. And a lot of people use OpenCV to do that. So or OpenDroneMap. They would be the two kind of cheaper options, and then there's lots of paid for options like Mapware or Pix4D.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm creating an alert view controller. So essentially when you're using the SDK, it may throw out different alerts, or even in this situation with the location itself, there is the opportunity. So this is actually a custom alert view controller that I had put together. And the point is here, when you're flying the drone, you obviously need to see that critical information from the drone itself in an easy way for you to digest it. So stuff like, oh no, the drone's lost GPS, or we don't have your home location, or the home location has updated. That's what I was hoping to get to today, and apologize, probably been a bit aggressive on that side of things. So I'm just creating this alert function here. Background color, coordinates 50 by 70. We're gonna add a label. The reason why I'm putting them 10 from the top and 0 from the sides is just so then when the alerts pop up, they have a little bit of spacing there. Constraints. Center the text. Make it white. And we'll do size. Text. So this is just an alert that will pop up. For example, system green. It could say like your home point's been updated on this side. And overall, we'll just make a quick kind of utility file here for the app that implements this alert view. So then in our app, we can just quickly call alert subview and tell it what text and color we want. So you can see this is just implementation of the alert subview essentially just creates one on top of each other and moves it down as you're going. And same idea here, just kind of removing the subview, and we'll use this later on for some math conversions as needed. All right. So now at this point, we can open up our map, add points, and focus on location. You can see right now our feature location is at Apple. We'll say allow once. We will focus the map, and beautiful. It brings us over to Apple HQ. We hit edit as well, so we can drop waypoints, and then we can reset to remove them. So that's kind of, I guess, base UI here for us. So we'll stop running, and now we're actually going to get into showing the aircraft on the map, its location, and how you even run the simulator. So hopefully a bit more engaging on the SDK side. So we have our basic annotation, but we want to create a custom annotation for the aircraft itself. So I'm going to go create a new file here. We'll make this a Swift file. And it will be aircraft annotation view. So on this side, we'll need to import MapKit, just like before, and then nothing that's like SDK related here. Essentially just creating another annotation with a custom aircraft. So let me add that into our assets here for use. We'll go into documents. Aircraft in, and then wanted to get into some custom implementation too, building on top of the tutorial later, like showing your home point on the map. So hopefully we have some time to get to there. So now we have our custom MK annotation view for the aircraft. And next up, we're going to need to add a option to update the aircraft's heading. So this is actually going to be more or less we'll need to interface with the aircraft itself in order to update the heading of the object here. So we'll create a new file, and this is just going to be the annotation instead of the annotation view. And then we're going to need a few different items here. We'll need to import MapKit again. And then just realizing in time, we'll paste in, but we have our coordinate, we have our annotation view, and then we'll need to update the heading of our annotation view from the aircraft itself. So now moving back to our map controller, we need to create an aircraft annotation. We're going to need to initialize that. And then we're going to need to add a couple functions to our item itself. So essentially here, kind of like we were doing before where we're adding a point, we're just saying if we don't currently have an aircraft annotation, we'll be able to use the aircraft's coordinates to update it. And then kind of same idea here below, just updating the aircraft heading. So we have our annotation, we have our annotation view, and then we're using the map controller here to actually update itself. And then at this point we'll need to update our clean all points function as well, because right now it's cleaning out everything, and we want it if there is an aircraft, we don't want that to be cleaned out. We want the aircraft annotation to stay on the map itself. Cool. So now moving back to our main thing, our main storyboard. X out of this for a second. As the aircraft pilot, something you can speak to is there's a lot of key information you're going to want to know while the drone's in flight. For example, how many satellites we're connected to, what is the speed of the aircraft, all good stuff to have here. So we're going to add that directly to our map. Once again, I don't think you guys want to see me build stack views here, so we'll try pasting this in, and I think I just need to make a few adjustments. So we'll pull this up to the top. We'll bring stack view over. And then you can see different values here. So mode is the mode of the aircraft. We have GPS mode, that's your regular positioning mode. We have ADDI mode, which is not automatically correcting for items such as wind. You have tripod mode, where the aircraft's flying in slower. You have sport mode, where the aircraft could fly faster. So this will show us our mode. GPS, the number of satellites, horizontal speed, vertical speed, altitude, all good stuff to have here. We're going to make the spacing 0. We are going to constrain it 0, 0, 0. And then we're going to make the height 100. And then we're actually going to pull our map view down so it's not hidden behind there. I'll just actually pull it down, and then I can, constraints, vertical top, we'll delete that one, and we'll line it up with our stack view 0. So now we can see we have our stack view with all the information, and we have our MK map view there. And we are going to pull in these items into our file so we can update them. So again, in the spirit of time here, we'll add these variables, and then I can just easily tap in, drag them in. 6 RUI, then we'll go mode label. So the one above it is going to stay bold, stay styled, and then we'll update the value below. On the screen right now, it just says the same thing as above for clarity purposes, but you can see we're all tied in now to those values so we can update them from the aircraft itself. And then we've now created a new variable drone location. So we are able to see that instead of the user location on the map. So same idea where we need to initialize the coordinate itself. Circling back to kind of our DJI SDK, when we're initializing our data, one of the first things we also need to do will be to call DJI SDK Manager register app with self. And then here up top, we'll need to say DJI SDK Manager delegate, and then also DJI Flight Controller delegate. So essentially, once again, not sure of audience information here, but think of the flight controller delegate as something our drone's flight controller, essentially the brain of the drone, can be constantly updating this class with. And there's certain protocols within your class that are required if you're going to implement these delegates. So you can see here, root view controller does not conform to protocols for the SDK manager delegate. There's nothing that's required for the flight controller, so you can say fix, and it actually pops them all in right here. We're going to move these below. Once again, sorry for the poor organization here. We can always clean up last. We'll add a mark here for DJI SDK Manager delegate methods. And kind of happy we're back on some DJI SDK topics now. So here, this function is required, and you can see it's called app registered with air. If you click on it, you should be able to get more information. It just gives us our inheritance. But essentially, whenever we have our SDK app key that we got before to add in, it's going to let us know if there's an error or not. So we can just say if let error equal error, then we're going to show an alert subview. We're going to say registration error, and we can say color system red. Else, we're going to say app registration was a success, and then we'll show that in green because that's something that is good. This data update database download progress we don't actually need, but we're just required to have it within the method, so we'll just say nothing required. And then one more DJI SDK Manager delegate I did want to add is going to be product connected. So in this function here, we're essentially connecting to the DJI product and updating function based on that. So we're saying if, essentially making sure we have a product, let the, sorry, I'll open this slowly so you can get a better look at that. If we're able to get our product, let the flight controller equal the function fetch flight controller, and then flight controller delegate is going to equal self. As you say, we have flight controller delegate implemented up top there. And then if for some reason our app disconnects from the drone, it's going to say flight controller disconnected. And then one more thing, since we're now going to get our drone's location, we can go into focus up on the map. And this is one method I probably could definitely write better, but I wanted it to do was essentially make sure that if we have the drone's location, that's what we want to do first. And if we don't, then use the iPad location. The idea being you might not have connected to the drone yet, so you'd still want to focus your map to somewhere you can plan it on. Maybe you're trying to save your batteries, so it's good to focus the map to the iPad location as well if we don't have the drone location. Alrighty, so we have that. That's all looking good there. So next up, we need to modify the map view location, because right now we just have a regular annotation. So we need to essentially say, if we're not running an MK point annotation, it's going to be an aircraft annotation. So here we can say else if it's an aircraft annotation, essentially do the same thing as we're doing with pin, but this time put the aircraft on there. And then finally, here on the bottom, we will update our DJI flight controller. Delegate. Hopefully we have some time later on, can show you how to get something like the home point here. But for now, we're essentially just going to be getting the key information from the drone itself. So real quick, if you go to something like the developer documentation here for mobile SDK, we go back to version 4, look at the iOS API reference. You can see here on the left side, flight controller is one of those options, and we have all this different information here that you can pull from the drone itself. So some of these modes I was talking about before, right, like tripod mode, cinematic mode, terrain follow mode. So a whole different bunch of options there. But something we might be interested here is drone location. So that might be a bit further in there. Oh no, drone location is our variable. On here it's called aircraft location. Here we go. So flight controller state, we have aircraft location as a a property we can pull, which is essentially what we're trying to get in this application here. So you can obviously look through this documentation and find all sorts of warnings and information that would be of use. So on this side, we'll say function flight controller, and we're going to go with did update the state. So we've had an update to our flight controller, and it's going to push that notification here. So we'll say drone location that we just looked at is going to be state dot aircraft location, if we have that, dot coordinate. So circling back to Google Chrome here, we can see we're looking in the flight controller state, we're looking at aircraft location, and pulling that here within our application. We have a few different ones. Think about our other labels we have. We have mode label, and we want to update that text. So the aircraft state, which is the DJI flight controller state here, that's coming in with this function. That's getting pulled in. So state.flight mode as a string. we have our GPS label, which we're going to update with the number of satellites. This one doesn't have a satellite count string. Makes sense because it's a number. And so we have our vertical speed. So this is going to be state velocity z. So let's see. Find that here. Maybe be under state. No, there's a lot of different states here. Back to DJI. Flight controller. Flight controller state, because that's what we're pulling in. And then velocity z. Current speed of the aircraft in the z direction, aka going up in meters per second using the northeast down coordinate system. So DJI flight controller state, that's what we have right here. And we pull state dot, and you can even just start typing, it should pop up. Yep, x, y, z. And then we'll need to do some math on that by formatting the string. Whoop. So 0.1. And that we learn that is in meters per second. So some good old string formatting right there. So you can see mode, not model, etc. Kind of what we're doing here specifically with the drone flight controller. I realize we're running up on time here, so I'll copy and paste from another project here. Don't really need all these selfs, but it's not gonna hurt us at the same time. But essentially here, we're able to update our aircraft heading and our map controller that we wrote the function before with a float of radian yaw, which is the state.attitude.yaw.degrees to radians, and just push that in. So once again, all kind of coming from the developer documentation that I was showing, and coming here, updating our text labels. Okay, and then one more thing I'm going to do really quick, just going to pull this off screen here, is update the app key in my info plist so we can successfully register this application. In the meantime, sorry, it's hard to talk while typing, so just give me 1 minute. What I'm doing is I'm just typing DJI SDK app key in the info plist and adding the app key from the website. I activated the application in the notice I got in my email. Okay, so don't need to look at that. One thing here we need to now launch to run the iPad simulation is called DJI Assistant 2. So we'll get out of my app keys and come back here. You can just go on the DJI website or search for DJI Assistant 2. The nice thing is you can run this on Mac or Windows. You just need to make sure to pick the right DJI Assistant 2. There's quite a variety. There's Phantom, Mavic, Enterprise series. So the easiest thing is just click on the Assistant 2, and then you can scroll down and see what aircraft it supports. So the original DJI Assistant 2 is much older. So Open had already installed the software. We have it open here. and I am now plugging my DJI Phantom 4 RTK into the computer and powering it on. But more or less, whatever drone you are using on the DJI side, you should be able to connect that to your computer, and DJI Assistant 2, you just need to make sure you have the right one installed, whether it's Phantom, Mavic, or Enterprise. So you can see I've connected the drone, and what's pretty sweet here is I can just come over to Simulator. I can open Simulator Lite, and then I can start simulating the drone at a certain location. You can add a wind speed, and you can actually just fly the drone here within the simulator itself. But before doing that, I'll go ahead and open up, pull back Xcode. I will connect the iPad to my actual iPad to my computer, and then we'll run this on my iPad. So I guess just an FYI here is, in real life, like, we need to connect the iPad to my controller as well. You can obviously connect your iPad to both the computer and the controller if we want to run this and see debugging information. So there is an app, a bridge app that can be used. However, it's a bit out of date and I've had issues with it. So what I find it easiest to do is you can actually run your application remotely from Xcode to the iPad if you go in and look at simulator information. So you're able to run it on your iPad the second time. You have to connect your iOS device initially to Xcode, but then after that you could run it remotely. So we're going to go ahead and run this on the iPad. We'll unlock that for use, and it's building that. In the meantime,
the reason you're running it,
sorry, go ahead.
The reason you're running it remotely is because you can't have the iPad connected to two things at the same time, correct?
Correct. That is correct, sir. And I found this Reflector 4 software, so I should be able to mirror my iPad to the computer. We'll say, try Reflector 4. 5 more days, and good enough. There we go. MacBook Pro. Uh, 8447. Sweet. So I should be able to view that now. My computer probably hates me for all the things I'm running at one time right now. I'm running a simulator, an iPad, a conference, and a thing. So maybe we'll exit this for just 1 second to help this build and run on the iPad itself. Same deal with the Assistant 2 here for just 1 second. Come on now. I know we are kind of, slightly. Oh, we're still doing all right on time.
So is this it then when you're finished with this?
No, I mean there's technically a lot, a lot more to it if we'd like to continue.
But the basic functionality of getting the waypoints to work, getting it to fly in the simulator.
Yeah, I guess you could say it's kind of there's no
bells and whistles.
ability to plan and execute the waypoint mission yet, but it is getting there. Essentially, like next steps are adding like waypoint planning, and then like you can add stuff like connecting the lines, adding a home point, stuff like that.
I think we might have to leave that for another night.
Yes, sir. And understood.
But I really liked what you did. I'm gonna have to kick it up a notch and add more code the next time I do this. Now this is great.
Word.text. Under the on-screen code for MacBook 4157. Yeah, and I'm not sure if this was too much code for folks. I probably a lesson learned on my side is.
I think it's good to see how it's all fit together because I don't think anybody else has done that before. So I think it's really good to see it all fit together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and, since we're kind of running out of time here, jump ahead. But you're kind of going to one of the previous applications here.
Mm-hmm.
You can see on the top right there, it's showing registration success. We can go ahead and click focus the map, and that actually brings it to my current location. But if we go here into Launchpad, Phantom, kind of booting everything back up now. Phantom 4 RTK doesn't seem to want to move around. Oh, there we go. Simulator, open, start simulating. You can see the drones now start simulating. So if we update focus map, let's see. The aircraft, or the map should then move the focus to the aircraft location, which it is currently not. Let's Oh, I'm sorry, a bit of a fail on my side here. Was working earlier today, but obviously needs a little more debugging on the live build here. Let's see. Here's my previous one, and it's on GitHub as well if you'd like to go take a look at that. But app registration success. Oh, the problem was we hadn't too many things going on. Haven't actually connected to the aircraft. That's why none of the applications were working. The app had registered successfully, but we haven't actually connected the RC and drone. So sometimes you gotta like unplug and replug in the cord itself, and we should be seeing it now where we're getting home point updated there. So you can see we focus map on our location. We hit the edit button, it opens up some more, and we're going to go ahead and click config or add. We want to add waypoints in. So we'll say we're going to fly around here, and we finished editing. Now we're going to configure. We can give it an altitude, a flight speed, a max flight speed, when we're done, we can tell it if we want the aircraft to go home, go land, go back to the first waypoint, and then the heading of the drone, which way the yaw is facing. So keep the heading of the initial waypoint, let the RC control it, or use waypoints. So we could stick this all here, and then something I had kind of built on top of the tutorial as well is the ability to configure the waypoints individually or as a route. So if we configure them individually, we could say, hey, waypoint 2, let's go up to 40, and then let's move the gimbal pitch down to 50, and then waypoint 3, you got to use a negative gimbal pitch value. So you can see the alert view working there on the right side. You can tap an alert to dismiss it. But you can see we'll go back. So now we're done editing individual waypoints. We can finish. Start the mission. And you'll see here, actually in the simulator side of things, the drone's starting to spin up and fly. Let's see. There it is. So you can see the drone's actually in air doing its waypoint mission. And here on the iPad, you can see it going to the first waypoint. And now it's starting to go up to 40 meters, which is what we programmed for the second waypoint, while keeping the drone heading there. So it's pretty cool when you get stuff going here. You can get, a lot of information from the drone as it's going. You can add stuff like the home point, put a line between the waypoints, and then kind of see it all in action here. So hopefully at least today was a good kind of starting point for everyone, and then you can obviously reference the tutorial or GitHub if you'd like kind of the further implementations and additions on that. You can hear the drone returning home there on the controller. So
yeah, if you want to send me the link to your GitHub, I'll put it up on the meetup tomorrow. Does anybody have any questions? I really like this, by the way. I thought it was great. I haven't seen anybody hack together an app for an hour and a half in a long time. So I really liked this. I thought that was pretty cool. So does anybody have any questions? James?
Yeah, no, it was good to see. Thank you very much for that. It's just good having a lot more background knowledge of what it takes to get this stuff put together and get it working.
Ryan or Victor, you want to ask anything before we finish up?
Nope, I don't have any questions.
Okay, I hope it,
No questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for doing
I
this.
hope it was helpful, Ryan. Certainly get you started if this is what you want to do.
Yeah, this is exactly why I was here.
It's great, Grant. I really liked what you did. Very impressive.
Thanks, guys. I think I certainly overestimated my app hacking speed and ability in a live
You
sense.
had a couple of times where I thought you were going to give up there, but you didn't. You struggled through, so I'm pretty impressed. That was really good.
live troubleshooting. And yeah, I can add a GitHub link on it as well for another kind of, as you would say, modification to one of the RIS.
Yeah, we just say Reese.
Do you say Reese? Okay,
say Reese.
Thank you. Another kind of modification to one of the Reese ones I did. So yeah.
Okay, thanks again, and see you guys next month. Thank you, Grant. Are you going to be at AVSI?
I will. Yeah, I'll see you there, and then I'll also reach out to you on LinkedIn. Maybe we can just have a nice general chat on the Cloud API.
Yeah, actually, that'll be great. I'd love to find out more. Thanks again.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Nice meeting you all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Great night.
Thanks.